once again feels like a big week of news with Manchester United, of course, but mainly it's because of an interview with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on the Overlap. I'm sure you've seen a bit of this, Darren, but just to kind of fill you in, if this is something that you might have missed, some big statements from him. He's talking about, of course, his time as the manager of the club, saying they shouldn't have signed Cristiano Ronaldo. He also talked about certain players refusing to be the captain of the club. He had huge praise for Harry Maguire as well for almost stepping forward and being that leader of the team as well. So some big kind of statements there. What do you make of him coming out and saying that? Do you think it's, obviously he's doing the interview with the Overlap, but do you think that's kind of helpful for Manchester United in this situation?
No, I don't. But do they care? I mean, does he care? He's not at Manchester United anymore. He's asked the question and he's given his honest answers, his honest opinion. So I don't think it's going to bother Ole Gunnar Solskjaer too much of what's thought. And on the flip side, I don't think it's helping Manchester United. The way it's going for them at the moment, very inconsistent. And to hear those statements and those things being said, the supporters are obviously going to turn against Manchester United even more to a certain degree, or some will obviously disagree with what Ole's saying. So I don't think it's helping them as it should, but it's just all words at the end of the day. They've got to go out on the pitch and perform, and if they don't, they're going to get criticised.
How does it sit with you, that statement that players refuse to be captain? As a former player yourself, can you see why they might have been saying
no? I everywhere I went, I wanted to be captain. Everywhere I went, I was desperate. Never got asked. I did once. I was captain at Palace when obviously the Paddy McCarthy was injured. I was the stand-in. I was the vice captain. So I loved it. I love being captain. There's not as much pressure. I understand that as being captain for Crystal Palace in the Championship as there is Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in football. So, but I don't understand. You're at one of the biggest clubs in the football, in world football, because you're known as one of the best players in world football. And if you want to be a leader of that team, there should be 6, 7, 8 players stepping up saying, I'm desperate to be captain. So to hear that as a supporter, that must really rile you up and really annoy you, because you don't deserve to play for Manchester United if you don't want to be leader of it.
Yeah, no one's taking responsibility and representing the club.
And the armband shouldn't mean nothing anyway. It should be a leader on the pitch. If you're a leader, if you've got that in you, you're a leader. You have to do it no matter whether you've got an armband or not. But to have that and the privilege to have that on your arm and be captain of Manchester United, it's something I could have only dreamed about, to be honest.
That was the Solskjaer era. We're in the Ten Hag era, of course, right now. They sit 6th in the Premier League, as you've just said, so inconsistent. Difficult game last time out, of course, the Manchester derby. What a brilliant start they had to it, and then eventually Man City clicked into gear and managed to win that game. But we're in this weird period, aren't we, with Manchester United and their manager, Erik Ten Hag, where because Ineos have come in and they are now the co-owners of the club, it almost feels like this kind of shop window for him to kind of try and prove himself. They did have that upturn in form, but is he showing enough for you as a manager to be able to keep his job going forward?
If I'm honest, I'd say no.
Why do you say that?
I just don't think... I think he's had a lot to handle, a lot of situations that has been out of his control as well, and he's had this saga of the takeover behind him the whole time. But I just think even he came out after the derby or before the derby and said it's not a close rivalry anymore. I don't think it endeared himself to the supporters much in terms of that.
But I mean, it is true. To be fair, I know it's not what the supporters want to hear, but it is true.
Sometimes you have to play the game as a player or a manager, and you have to get people on side. And that might sound a bit strange, because you should just do what you believe is right and say what you believe. Sometimes you play the game. Trent Alexander-Arnold, potentially in his interview before the rivalry, has had that interview, hasn't he? So it's just getting supporters on side, and I don't think he's endearing himself as much as he should or he could. On the flip side, you can't keep sacking managers. He was brought in to be this disciplinarian, to change the football club, to trust him to get Manchester United back to where they should be, or where they want to be. It's at the top of the league and competing for all the trophies. What's changed? I know form changes opinions, and I get that. Losing games changes opinions. But he's still the same manager that they brought in. But I agree with you. Everyone from manager to player and staff are on trial.
I mean, Ten Hag did do well last season. He managed to get them into the top four and he managed to win that League Cup. But I do take your point. And I think where Manchester United must be quite frustrated is I think one of the key reasons they brought him in was because of that playing style and because of, that way that Ajax were playing. And then he himself has come out and said, well, I'm not going to be able to do that here.
Yeah.
And that's down to playing staff as well.
He's not lying.
To hear that from the manager who you've hired to do that, it's just so... It's not inspiring at all. And now, go on.
I think you can look at it as a communication issue, but he knows what he's doing. He knows he's been in long enough. He knows what he could say could have a real negative impact, not only on the supporters but the players as well. And but I can see where he's coming from. They put a clip up, I think, on social media, or someone did, and I see it. I don't know if you side by side, the Ajax side and the Manchester United side doing a similar training session, and they were so drilled, the Ajax side, in what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. The Manchester United didn't look drilled. And you have to play to a certain style of what your players are capable of doing. And I think it's a plea for help for the new owners. He'll know he's on trial, I'm sure, but it's a plea for, right, if I am the man to take you forward, then I need players that I want to come in. But then on the flip side, and I'm contradicting myself a lot here, and I know that, but the players he has brought in have not come in and really set the league alight.
And a lot of those have been his choices as well. Now, if you don't think that Erik ten Hag is the right man to take Manchester United forward, obviously that means that you think that a change might be in the offing potentially. Now, the names being linked with Manchester United are quite interesting. Roberto De Zerbi has had very strong links to them within the last few weeks. Graham Potter, of course, as well, is a name that has been in the frame for Manchester United. Even Gareth Southgate has been linked with the club this week as well. Now, out of any of those, do you think they would be the right choice for Manchester United? And if not, who would you think takes that job on at Old Trafford and does well?
I mean, prior to what we just discussed about Brighton, if you talking to me 3 months ago, I'd have said De Zerbi. It would have been ideal for Liverpool or Manchester United to go in and play the way they want to play. I know Zidane is potentially a candidate, and I know he's come out recently or whenever and said he doesn't want to manage in England, but I think that would be ideal. I think a manager of the stature of Zidane going into a club like that, and I think you could build the club around him for many years to come. But on that front, I don't think Southgate is the man to take Manchester United. I'm going to be honest. And
why is that? Is that to do with?
I think he's more of a international manager, and I think it's not been success in terms of trophies, but it's been a successful period relatively for England. Middlesbrough, it wasn't so much. A club level, I don't think he's proved enough.
It was a long time ago.
It was, but I just don't think he's proved enough club level to take a job like Manchester United.
I'd agree with that.
Graham Potter's an opportunity. I know it didn't work out at Chelsea.
How do you feel about that one? Because the one thing I will say on that is obviously he's highly rated as a coach, and I think it's been good from Graham Potter that he hasn't just leapt into the next job. He's kind of taken some time to himself and probably gone.
Had to, I think.
Yeah, I need to take a bit of a break here. Chelsea was a complete basket case when he took it over. There was all sorts going wrong. He had the most bloated squad in the world, but something that was levelled at him quite a lot was this club feels a bit big for him. Now, I'm sorry, but if you're going to Manchester United, the spotlight is ridiculous, as Ten Hag's found out, as all their managers have found out, of course. The coverage is, monumental. Would that worry you if you were hiring Graham Potter, given how it went at Chelsea?
Potentially, yeah, but I think if you look at what's happened to managers at Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel, and particularly Maurizio Pochettino, who was one of the most sought-after managers in world football, has gone into Chelsea, and the same result has happened. So I think that has to come into play, that sometimes it's the club and not so much the managers. I know Rory Jennings will disagree with me on that and say it is all Maurizio Pochettino, but I think sometimes certain managers get away with a bad job and their reputation stays intact. And I think that's what's happened with Graham Potter. I think his reputation's still there, and I think he'll be given another opportunity. Will it be at Manchester United? Probably not. I'm just saying, out of those three, De Zerbi on current form in terms of Brighton, Southgate and Graham Potter, my first choice would be Graham Potter out of those three.
Now, Man United taking on Everton, who are now gone 10 games without a win. Obviously, they have managed to get a few points back, though, given that their points deduction was reduced to 6 points. So they are now 16th on 25 points, but I mean, do you still see this very much as them being in a bit of a relegation battle at the moment? In terms of, Luton are 5 points off them, but it will only take a couple of results to bring Everton back in. And of course, they've got another deduction pending potentially as well.
That's the big thing. The other deduction, I think, if they get 4 points back, that they don't know what they're doing. The powers that be, they don't know what's going on. They're making it up as they go, in my opinion. If there was a strong appeal, they shouldn't have given the 10 points to start with. It should have been pending this investigation. There's going to be a points deduction, but you can't just give and take, because you give points back and Luton are thinking, well, we were in it, now we're not. So I just think they've done that all wrong. Sean Dyche, I'm a big fan of, and always have been. I think he speaks really well. He's a funny guy. He's a good character to have. I said that I like Everton in the Premier League. I'm a traditionalist. I think that I like them being in the Premier League, but not winning games. They're definitely in a relegation battle, and they will or could get dragged into it. Taking the lead in the last 2 games, drew one and lost one, so they're conceding too many. I just feel Sean Dyche can always produce something and get them out of this situation. And to be honest, I think if they had a few more points on the board, I don't think they'd have been given 4 points back. I think they'd have just kept it at 10 and Everton are safe. But this whole situation needs to get sorted with Everton and Nottingham Forest to give everyone some facts of what's going on and see how they can do. But yeah, it's going to still be tough, but I can see Everton pulling this off.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.